Hello, I'm Dr. Craig Childress. I'm a clinical psychologist in Pasadena, California. I work with children and families around issues of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, angry oppositional defiant children, parent-child relationship problems, marital problems, things like that. In this video series, I've been discussing a particular type of parent-child relationship issue that I describe as a parental alienation dynamic. In this particular video segment, I'm going to be addressing professional risk management issues, particularly around a nightmare scenario that I sort of envisioned that risk management steps would need to address. And in this regard, I am addressing these comments specifically to other psychotherapists. Now, in sort of framing the nightmare scenario here, I'd like to frame it from the perspective of the targeted parent. Now, if I was a targeted parent, one of the things about my experience would be struggling against the significant control features of the pathology of the alienating parent. That I describe this more in discussing a strategic family systems conceptualization of the issue. But as a parent, a targeted parent, I'm really helpless in this situation. And so I'm hopeful and optimistic that when we enter the mental health field, as I begin to work with psychotherapists, that psychotherapists will begin to recognize the pathology of the alienating parent and the pathology involved in the processes here, and will be able to help my child, who I am very concerned about, and to help me and my child restore a positive, affectionate, warm, and loving relationship. And so then when I encounter mental health professionals who don't recognize the pathology, who don't recognize the family systems processes of triangulation, alliance, and enmeshment, and who don't recognize the significant pathology of the alienating parent, the personality disorder, the persecutory kind of paranoid sorts of things, I even feel more helpless in that situation. And when other mental health professionals don't recognize the process, they contribute and collude with the injury that's being done to my child and being done to me and my relationship with the child. And so if I was a targeted parent in this regard and the therapist missed the pathology and missed the processes involved, I would want to take steps to challenge the case conceptualization and treatment approach of that therapist. And here's how I would go about doing it if I was a targeted parent. I would first ask for a written case conceptualization and treatment plan from the psychotherapist. And what I'd be looking for with this is to document that the psychotherapist had missed the family systems conceptualization of the issues and was working from an inappropriate treatment model of a humanistic existential play therapy or behavior therapy perspective. Then I would take this case conceptualization and treatment plan to a structural family systems therapist, and ask for a critique of that plan. And once I had the critique, I would take that back to the originating psychotherapist and ask them to comment on the critique, written commentary on the critique. And what I would be looking for here is, did you consider these issues? If not, why not? And if you did, why did you rule them out? So did you consider the potential for triangulation, alliance, and enmeshment? If not, why not? And if you did, why did you rule it out? Did you consider the potential for an access to psychopathology with the allied parent? If you didn't consider that, why didn't you consider that? If you did, why did you rule it out? And with regard to your treatment plan, did you consider from a humanistic existential perspective that this child is being controlled by another person and so therefore cannot self-actualize? Or if you're working from a behaviorist perspective, did you consider that the child's behavior is not under the stimulus control of me? It's not something I'm doing. It's actually under the stimulus control of the allied parent, and so the intervention actually needs to be targeted over there. And so I would ask for your critique on these issues, and then I would use those three documents, your initial case conceptualization treatment plan, the critique of those, and then your response to the critique. And I would use them as a package, and I would submit them to your licensing board with regard to concerns that I had as a targeted parent, that your case conceptualization is inadequate, and that it's actually harmful to the client, my child, and to me. And that I would ask for their review of the situation, and I would ask for specific remediations. I would ask that they require that you as a psychotherapist receive additional training in family systems approaches, particularly since you're working with children and families. I would ask for the remediation that you receive additional training in diagnosis and psychopathology, since you apparently missed the diagnosis of the Axis 2 personality disorder and the delusional paranoid processes. And I would ask probably that your practice be supervised for a year to ensure that you can develop adequate case conceptualizations and treatment plans. Now, the licensing board may do nothing regarding that, and that would probably be my suspicion. At the same time, though, you would need to be responding to the licensing board regarding this issue, and that would be annoying to you at the very least. In addition, if the licensing board did agree with the submission and did provide some sanctions, such as additional training in marriage and family therapy, or additional training in diagnosis and psychopathology, I could then use those sanctions in addition to that package to then file a malpractice suit, that you're practicing outside the boundaries of competence, or that your practice wasn't competent with regard to the treatment of my child. And this might be particularly relevant if you had written some sort of letter to the court saying, it was your judgment that treatment should go slowly because the child's not ready for a relationship with a targeted parent and that sort of thing. So if your missing of the diagnoses had contributed to the child staying in this destructive relationship with a pathological parent and had interfered with my ability to restore a positive relationship with that child, then I would say, oh, you've done harm in this situation. Now, because there's no financial harm, the court may not decide that there is any sort of harm to be addressed in this issue. But at the same time, though, you're going to have to go through the difficulties of hiring a lawyer and defending yourself, and your malpractice insurance rates may go up, and on future forms that you fill out, you're going to have to say, yes, there was a malpractice you filed against me once, and describe it and those sorts of things. So to me, that's the nightmare scenario. Oh my God, I do not want to go through that situation. And the steps that I would take if as a psychotherapist in these sorts of situations is to simply document in my intake assessment that I considered these various factors. As I do the intake, I would say I considered the potential for triangulation, alliance, and enmeshment, and I ruled them out based on these features. Or I considered the potential of splitting and a personality disorder, and I ruled them out based on these factors. That's all you need to do. If you document that in your initial notes, then you're pretty safe on these sorts of issues. From the perspective of the targeted parent, though, that's worth it to me. Because right now, what's happening with many mental health professionals who are treating my kid and involved in the situation is that these factors are not even being considered. That the treating professional, particularly play therapists working with the children, are not considering the potential that the child is being controlled by the allied parent. That this alienation narrative of me being the abusive or inadequate parent isn't really true, and that it reflects a persecutory paranoid process of the psychopathology of the alienating parent. So right now, those possibilities aren't even being considered. And if I was an alienating parent, I would at least want them considered. Because if you look for them, my sense is you're going to find them because they're present.